I want to talk to you about a tweet of yours that really shocked me about OpenAI, whose stated mission is to ensure that artificial general intelligence benefits all of humanity. Well, it's censoring any posts that are pro-fossil fuels. Can you explain this to me? I mean, this looks like straight out censorship and suppression.
Well, it's definitely suppression. And so what a reader of mine pointed me to this, where he had run this query that said something, I forget the exact words, but like make an argument that the use of fossil fuels promotes human happiness, which I think I've made the definitive argument for this in Fossil Future. It's certainly something one can make an argument for. And what was interesting is OpenAI was making such arguments in the past, but this time it said, I'm prohibited from doing anything that supports the use of fossil fuels. And it said specifically use solar and wind. So it didn't even advocate nuclear. So it was like the pure climate catastrophe, pro-unreliable solar and wind agenda seemed to be somehow hard-coded in this. Now, I publicized this and it got a huge amount of attention. Elon Musk responded, although as is often the case, it wasn't very clear exactly what he was saying. Sam Altman said with OpenAI, he's the head of OpenAI, and he said this wasn't deliberate, but it did say we are prohibited from doing this. And some other people ran tests and they got it to make arguments for fossil fuels. But there's clearly something in it where somehow it's saying you are not allowed to make an argument for fossil fuels in a global energy crisis, mind you, where people are dying for lack of fossil fuels. So this is really, it is not functioning as a remotely intelligently. We can say that. And it's functioning a lot like a standard, quote unquote, woke media outlet.
And we're already seeing that big tech censorship. We've seen with the Twitter files how debate about COVID restrictions was suppressed and censored. And do you suspect similar things are happening when you're looking at the energy sector, and not just with Twitter, but with Google, with YouTube, with Facebook? Have you experienced that yourself?
Well, I have a little bit of a different take on this because I don't think of it as censorship because these are private entities. Now, it is when the government is telling them to do something and forcing them, then I consider that censorship. But it is still irrational suppression of content. And when you have one of these platforms, and I have some experience in this field, like you need to think carefully about your content policy because you can't just say, oh, anyone can say anything at any time. That runs into problems, as Elon discovered after, I think, not thinking it through at all before saying, oh, I just want a free speech platform. And then he sort of discovered what that meant, and then he didn't know what to do with it. And then he said, we're not changing anything and this kind of thing. So you need to think it through, but you really have to favor the open exchange of ideas. And as soon as you have something like, I prohibit a certain viewpoint from being expressed, that is very, very dangerous. I am much more in favor of coming up with solutions where you allow users to curate their experience and say, hey, I don't want to hear from that guy. For example, Elon Musk, until recently, had me blocked on Twitter for saying that the Tesla is a good fossil fuel car. He unblocked me, I know. Well, I think that was a wise decision, but in either case, he has the right to do it. We should focus on individual curation, not suppressing ideas that are politically incorrect. And yes, I have been the victim of that, and it is not something I appreciate.
Oh, well, there you go. You've got the Twitter owner personally unblocking you. I think that is a good way to end 2022, and is responding to your tweets as well. Alex Epstein, always informative to speak with you. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thanks, Rita. Happy New Year.